Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel. I had a really interesting conversation this morning I wanted to continue related to short-term thinking and long-term thinking and how those two can work together but sometimes also seem to not really match up. So I wanted to get into the metaphysics of thinking, and I really wanted to use the language of astrology to explain some things. So let me take you with me if I can. So the idea of let's look at electric cars was the example in the conversation today. Sometimes you can have these ideas that we want to help the environment or make things better, and so we've got this new idea and we pump out all of these electric cars, and that's going to save on gas and it's going to help the environment. But we can see that long-term aim, it's like, with the electric cars, you've got all of these battery waste and other problems. And just the idea, if you can just generalize with me, the idea that this noble aspiration perhaps could have like some short-sightedness or some things that aren't working out in that long term. Whereas I guess the philosophy or the conversation was talking about how it's better to sometimes do things in the moment, in the instant, with what feels right, rather than trying to make something perfect or ideal out there in the future in some way. Another example I could give would be somebody thinking that they need to go to 4 years of college to be a computer programmer, and that that's what's going to make them money, but they really enjoy drawing and art and that type of thing, and so they could go through with that 4-year plan and get that job and not enjoy computer programming or something, and fall into like graphic design or art or something. Whereas if they, follow those, moment by moment draws towards what they are passionate by, it might have gotten them to a different far range vision or a different goal at the end. So it's hard to sometimes match the short-term decisions and the long-term visions and goals. And as I was listening to all of that, the idea of those represented as Mercurial themes and Jupiterian themes comes in really strong. So with Mercury, you have all of the short-term decisions. You have the immediate environment. You have the navigation and the thinking to get around the conversations and the ideas and the thoughts. With Jupiter, you have the big picture. You have the long-range vision and aim of what you're trying to accomplish and where you want to go. These characters then are, when we talk about Jupiter, we're looking at the big scope of Sagittarian stuff and Piscean stuff. And when we talk about Mercury, we're talking about the realm of Gemini and Virgo, where it's the more immediate, daily, routine, in and out environmental things. So we've got the big stuff and the small stuff in life. And these both represent axes of learning and service, in a regard that we find throughout our life happening with all of our decisions and all of just this thinking process. So the metaphysics of thinking, if you will. So Mercury in Gemini is opposite Sagittarius and Jupiter in that realm. And it shows how we have the idea to navigate and pick this or that, go left or right. And then in Sagittarius, we have the big picture, the big aim, where it all comes together. So in that axis, Mercury is very analytical and dissecting, cutting things apart, looking at both sides, while in Sagittarius, it's more synthetic, synthesizing, coagulating, putting the ideas together. What's the big picture? What's the bottom line, the high point, the noble aim, etc., etc. We look at the other dimension with Virgo and Mercury. We have a side to Mercury that is taking all the parts and putting them together into an instrument, integrating. So Virgo Mercury is an integrating process that puts everything together to be effective and efficient and perfect working order. Whereas opposite with Jupiter in Pisces, we have this theme of the big picture and ocean of all life without any boundaries, that oneness of at one-ment. That idea that is a surrender and a relaxation into just everything, kind of overwhelming at once without any lines or parts, or there's no boundaries. And so it's a big picture of things that kind of dissolves and takes everything apart. It kind of untangles and unravels things. And it's opposite this energy of Mercury, which integrates and puts things together. So with Mercury and our short-term thinking in those two dimensions, there's a side to Mercury that cuts things in half, that wants to divide things, that wants to look at both sides, to play the devil's advocate, the trickster, to go left and right and see both dimensions. And there's a side to Mercury that puts things together, that wants to make them perfectly aligned like a puzzle that fits, via Virgo. And we can see this in, since Mercury is Hermes and the caduceus staff, we're dividing and analyzing things, and then we're putting things back together. And so that is what Mercury does. Jupiter, on the other hand, Jupiter has an element that is growing, expanding, and integrating in that sense of assimilation and coagulating with bigger and larger wholes. And in Sagittarius, this is a unified aim of taking diverse philosophies, religions, truth, cultural differences, all of that, and finding the similarities, finding how they all speak the same one language, and aiming towards what is it all about? What is the noble truth? What is the aim? Where are we taking things? Where is it going? Long term, long range. And then in Pisces, we have this side to Jupiter that is very, again, large and growing, but it's growing in that extent of just like accepting and owning and being and joining, rejoining, uniting with oneness, with allness, with no boundary. So it's this enlargement of a sense of an inner sense of being and melting in everything, whereas Jupiter in Sagittarius is an enlargement of one bigger and more all-encompassing aim. With Mercury in Gemini, again, we have a side to short-term decisions, short-term travel, short-term thinking that is about this and that, and knowing the full range of all the alphabet and words and options and menu and how to navigate all the buttons and levers to get around in a short-term environment, in our car, in our local environment, in our getting around. In Virgo, we have that sense of knowing the pathways that work the best and integrating all of the parts that we've assimilated and know, so that it is one working function. It's one unit that serves a utility and a function in a smooth and perfect manner. So Mercury and Jupiter have this balance and paradox in that we think of Mercury as our short-term planning and our local small environment. Mercury is always the shorter, faster trips and thoughts and synapses and connections, and Jupiter is always the bigger, further, farther range vision. Where do I want to go long-term, long range? What's the down, years in the distance? Versus like now, tomorrow, Mercury, like what's happening, where, so there's those ranges of decisions. And so this phenomenon, sometimes we can be doing everything for some reason that is counterproductive to what we would like to be doing right now. And so like in the case of the I want to have a successful job and I need a career that sustains me. Computer programming is the goal, is the Sagittarian vision. And right now, though, I'd rather be drawing. I'd rather be learning new art techniques, etc. And so I might push myself to perfect computer programming. Virgo, I'll take all of my knowledge and put that into that. But then when we do that, there's a lesson in Virgo, the perfection. When we try to make the perfect system and the short-term plan, sometimes the universe in Pisces will dissolve it, will melt it, will sabotage it, will unravel it, and we have no control. When the big picture that we can't see in this unconscious realm of everything being one and melting and sloshing, in Pisces, in that Jupiterian big picture, we can't control where things go and flow in a sense. And so there is a certain amount of floating through when the machine breaks and the perfect plan is not in working order. And it kind of comes with the a realignment in that Sagittarian sector of what the vision, the aim, and the goal was. And we'd redefine that. So, I mean, it's really redefining happiness. I mean, that Sagittarius arrow is where we are pointing, and the learning axes are changing the trajectory. So with that decision aspect, you can make that, you can have that plan disrupted. With the car scenario, the aim of helping the environment. Now, I mean, there's a lot of politics that can go into, why certain ideas get global attention and such, but we want to help the environment, and we look at, these cars, and maybe we've got a lot of resources already for doing electric cars. So we do like how great can we do electric cars? We perfect electric cars. But then there's a sorrow and an unraveling when there's all of these other problems. So the aim of helping the environment or of changing our energy sources, maybe the aim wasn't really to help the environment, or it wasn't really to help everybody. It's just to put the money in another pocket. But in that sense, maybe we have to readjust the aim, the arrow of the aim really is to help everybody and the environment, and to reduce problem, so that we don't have those unforeseen problems. So there's a constant juggling. There's not like a perfect way to do decisions. There's not an answer. I'm going to look at how to think about thinking, but there's not a perfect answer in life ultimately. Or a perfect way to do things. You can't have the perfect long-term plan where like I want to go, I want to climb Mount Everest. That's the long-term goal, and I want to do whatever it takes to get there. And if I have other things, that one pointed goal, depending on what it means and what's behind it and the substance and all that, I could drill all of my short-term activity toward that one pointed goal and be very then disillusioned and let down when that one pointed goal is not everything that its fulfilling seem to be. It unravels in Pisces at that point. So there's this idea of a goal in Sagittarius. Long term, this is what I want. And then along the way, we are navigating the this and the that. We're steering through and learning and navigating the options in Gemini as we're putting together the puzzle that's the best working fit through Virgo, that's aligned toward that aim, with an understanding that it is all going to have imperfection. It all is going to have elements that unravel, unforeseen, don't know, unconscious Piscean elements to all of that, which require faith and surrender and compassion and letting go, release type of qualities. So with all of the decisions, it really is steering the wheel and understanding what our short-term decisions are about, when to take a left, when to take a right, when to spend time here, when to spend time here, according to whatever the long-term goal is. It's also about what are the routines and the ways that I'm integrating my short-term environment that keep things healthy, fit, working, all of those Virgonian qualities of like practical working service for improvement. I'm getting better at my craft. I'm getting better at my service so that I am closer to that long-term, long-range goal, while we're questioning that long-term goal along the way. As it changes, so do the other things. And it's such a dynamic process in life. I mean, the idea that you like, oh gosh, might as well not plan for anything in the future. I might as well just live in the now and just live in the environment and not have any long-term range goals or expectations or anything. you lose a sense of Sagittarian meaning, and truth is like, what's the big picture? What's the point of it all? When it becomes too immediate, just right now, just responding, I'm just in that sense, you're just the mediator in the environment, just moving through all the actions. On the other hand, to be too long range oriented, without the sense of what you've got to do right now. Chopping wood and fetching water in Virgo. You've got to still do your routines and stay, keep things together. You can't just like plan for the future. And you've also got to be immediately responsive and able to toggle back and forth through all of the polarities and dualities and oppositions and conversations and all of the back and forth elements of life that you have to go through. So you can get people that become reclusive, like isolated Piscean type vibes, and hermetic, or like nomadic, or just like off wandering type of Sagittarian vibes, when there is none of the short term order together. And so really and we're only talking about 4 out of a whole wheel right now that's just talking about learning in these 2 Mercury Jupiter aspects of the short term environment and timing and navigation, and then the long term, long range navigation of thinking and planning and our drive, like what's steering. I mean, it is all one wheel for the will, of how we steer our free will. So hopefully this has given some fun insight to think about thinking and decision making, and the processes that are always dynamically interplaying between synthesis, putting things together, and analysis, taking things apart, and how we have to integrate the short-term, short-range decisions with the long-term, long-range dreams and goals. I mean, Pisces is also these dreams, the vision in the dream is part of the big picture, the long-range aim, and it expands and grows and is more integrated and more inclusive when all of this is working. When we've got, in all of these different polarities, when there's too much energy in one and not enough in another, that's where things start to dance funky, while we're trying to make it all one flowing, integrated kind of dance. So again, I think I'm starting to ramble now. So hopefully this has been fun for everybody. It's been fun for me to talk about it a little bit deeper. If you've got any questions or insights or comments, please feel free to share them. Otherwise, it was a delight to spend my morning talking about all this. So enjoy your day.